Moving on, going from the good to the bad. It was week 1 in Serie A in Italy. And of course, we got two of the top, or quite a few of the top American players overseas, but two in particular had a rough go. Do you want to start with Milan and Cremonense or Weston McKennie's experience with Parma fans?
Well, okay, let's keep it on the field for a second. And AC Milan came into the season with lots of questions. Allegri in charge, okay. What was the makeup of that team going to look like? Leao was hurt. That is a consideration, and I think it's very much up in the air how Allegri gets his best attackers on the field all at the same time if Leao is available, because you've got Pulisic, you've got Leao, obviously Santi Jimenez seems to be not in the plans necessarily, but nothing's happened yet. We still have a week to go before the transfer window closes, Rob. I mean, obviously when you lose to a team like Cremonese, that's going to create a lot of pressure. Milan shouldn't be losing to them, at least not historically. Luka Modric got the start and went 74 minutes. How heavily are they relying on Luka Modric, who should be a substitute kind of player at his age? I mean, I love Luka, and I know Serie A is a different kind of league, but man, I don't know. It was an odd day for Milan. Nothing really happening for Pulisic, who seemed to be disconnected from Jimenez. They were supposed to be playing as dual forwards. I don't think that's necessarily Pulisic's best position. I mean, it was two very good goals from Cremonese. I mean, Bashiroto is. You see his celebration, Rob?
No, I didn't. What did he do?
Guy's got some guns on him, and he did one of those like wrestler moves. You kind of lean down and like flex. It's like a bodybuilder type of move. And went straight over to the sideline, got himself in front of a camera, and did something pretty impressive. And then obviously that second goal from Bonazzoli was just, I mean, that's incredible. How do you account for that? Acrobatics. But Milan shouldn't be losing, right? They shouldn't be.
No, yeah, despite the quality of that finish, Milan shouldn't be in the position to concede, and to not having scored enough goals to, weather the storm. I mean, teams in the top flight are going to score a banger every now and again, but you got to be able to outscore teams. And that's kind of, at least, I mean, obviously small sample size, but Milan had a lot of trouble. They didn't score more than one goal very often, and they weren't able to keep many clean sheets. So week 1 looking a lot like last year.
Well, I mean, you look at the numbers, and this just feels like one of those games that is just unfair to Milan. They had 64% possession. They created 1.88 expected goals. I mean, whatever you want to say about expected goals, they don't always tell the story of the game, and clearly they don't in this case, because Cremonese scored twice on 0.21 expected goals. Cremonese was not dangerous, but they get a set piece, they get a header off the center back, and they get the incredible acrobatic goal from Bonazzoli. And that's all it takes when Milan can't find a way through, when Milan's chances are lacking. Again, doing better on the day, but not clinical enough when it counted. And I still think, they're going to have to figure out how to play with a center forward. And I don't know who that center forward is, because Santi Jimenez apparently can't carry that load by himself. What is the future of that position for AC Milan, I think, is a question.
Yeah, and then so sliding across a bit in Serie A, Weston McKennie, Juventus got a 2-0 win over Parma. Canadian international Jonathan David scored, but the story of the day was Weston McKennie, American international, subjected to racist abuse after Juventus's 2-0 win, and the subsequent, condemning messages coming out after that. But it happened in England last week. I think there was another one in Germany and now in Italy. So these sort of, racial slurs being hurled out from the stands across the European soccer stadiums, not going away.
I mean, God, it's absolutely terrible. Cannot be condoned. Certainly Italy does not. I mean, you would imagine this is one of those things where even when you're not hearing about it, you have to imagine that things are being said. Whether the players catch it or whether anybody is actually aware of it is maybe a different question. Italy, unfortunately, kind of earned a reputation as a league with a lot of this going on. I think, we're talking about 6, 7, 8 years ago. It was kind of like every week somebody was talking about racial abuse in Italy. Questions. I'm trying to remember player names, and that's going to elude me. But I remember times when players were like, "I'm not playing. Like, this is terrible. I'm not playing anymore." And then it was a question of his teammates backing him up or not. And there was this era of, "Oh no, just play through it. Don't let them win."
Was that Moise
By
Keane?
Moises Kane was maybe one of them, but I think even before him, again, I'm thinking about a decade ago, perhaps. Maybe it's that, again, things can change in a decade, but I'm not sure that things have changed for the better in a decade in a lot of places. And so, again, not to make this just, it's not even just about Italy. Obviously, you mentioned it's happened everywhere. We had the incident in Liverpool. So this is a thing that they're going to have to attack head on. The fact that Weston McKennie seems to not be in the plans for Igor Tudor as a starter. Patrice Evra is certainly one of them. I mean, that we had the incident with Luis Suarez, slightly different kind of vibe to that, but maybe Patrice Evra deserves mention. But Igor Tudor doesn't seem to rate McKennie as a starter. Now, he has won coaches over time and time again, right? And Cambiasso picked up a red card in this game. I don't know what that means for the next match, but Weston McKennie has proven time and time again to be good enough to play in a number of places for these Juve teams who I think of themselves, and I'm not sure Tudor's guilty of this, but think of themselves as better than they are in terms of the quality through their squad. And that maybe is kind of damning Weston McKennie with faint praise to say it that way. But man, he can play, and he comes on as a substitute, the final sub in a game that was already decided at that point, and gets racially abused. Like, damn it. And I know he's in the middle of a contract situation with them as well. And obviously, if you're not getting starting minutes that make color your choice of staying or renewing your contract or trying to play out your contract. So I think, again, so back in May they were in contract negotiations. I don't know exactly where we are on that. Maybe it was an extra year on his deal. And so, again, is he going to extend past that? I think is the big question here. So, I don't know. I don't know if he wants to be there. He keeps sticking it out. He keeps convincing managers to play him. Let's hope that things get better for Weston in terms of the treatment he receives as a player, but also in terms of his role in that team.
How does Massimiliano Allegri keep on getting second goes at all these clubs? I mean, Weston McKennie must have been happy to finally rid himself of Allegri as his boss, but then his guy across town, Pulisic, gets plagued with the Allegri condition and coaching right after. The Americans can't get free of Allegri.
Let me give you an update because it isn't fairly recent. I was talking about McKennie's contract and I want to get the details right. So
sure.
He has 10 months left on his contract. He decided to stay and not look for opportunities this summer. There was a previous agreement that would have given him an extra year through 2026. Okay, despite a previous agreement between McKennie and former Juventus sporting director Cristiano Gintoli to extend his stay past next summer, the deal was canceled by the new general manager of the club. So he was going to sign a new contract extension, and then the new general manager came in and said, no, we're not doing that. So now he's got 10 months left on his contract. So he could potentially leave for free next summer if they don't figure out a new deal. And again, we'll see what role he plays. Now, as a U.S. men's national team fan, of course, Rob, we want him to be playing meaningful minutes as much as possible. And so there's that to watch as well as we get ready for the first international break of the new season.
I'm glad you brought up and updated that status of his contract, because that is wild to be like, oh yeah, I'm in line, I'm gonna have this job for a while, and then the new management said not so fast. That's kind of chastening, I can only imagine, and it kind of leads you to down the path of, well, is his time finally over, or is this another prove it year again? Like, will McKennie do it again for another coach under another regime? We shall see. We're not going to go too far into it, but Jonah in the chat throwing a bone elsewhere outside of Italy. Dust, Sargent, and Wright all having a good weekend. Thank you for chiming in there.